Sabri Yaakob rolled out the red carpet for American investors as a preferred investment destination.
Good evening, I'm Fahana Sheikh and this is AWANI Tonight. HFMD cases have increased by 20 times this year. And is it time for ASEAN to recognize Myanmar's unity government? More on that coming up. A total of 47,209 hand, foot and mouth disease HFMD cases have been reported nationwide from the beginning of the year up to May 21st. This is a 20-fold increase compared to the same period last year. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the increase was expected following travels during the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebrations. The highest number of cases among the states and federal territories was detected in Selangor, accounting for 28.9% of all cases this year. This was followed by Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, Perak, Kelantan and Sabah. The three main viruses causing HFMD have also been identified. They are Coxsackie A16, Coxsackie A6 and Enterovirus 7.1. Majority of cases were among children below 6 and in nurseries, kindergartens and preschools. There is a bigger threat to the monkeypox virus here in Malaysia. Malaysian Medical Association MMA said the mosquito-borne dengue disease is a bigger problem as it's claimed many lives compared to monkeypox. Its president, Dr. KHAIRY, also said that while there is a monkeypox vaccine which has already been registered, it is not readily available yet. Kuching MP Dr. Kelvin Yee yesterday urged the Health Ministry to issue proper guidelines on the new outbreak of monkeypox, which has been detected across several countries. The World Health Organization reported 92 confirmed monkeypox cases and 28 suspected cases in 12 nations so far. No cases has been detected in Malaysia yet. As for dengue, the disease has seen a 40% increase in the country with 12,942 total cases and 7 deaths as of May 5th. Malaysia supports reforms towards an international health architecture that will avoid the moral failures in our response to COVID-19. However, Health Minister KHAIRY said any amendments to the international health regulations will have to respect the principles of equity, accountability and transparency and the sovereign process of member states.
He said this at the 75th World Health Assembly in Geneva. KHAIRY also urged the member states to put mechanisms in place for fair and equitable distribution of resources needed in a pandemic. He added that this is important as it is time to build back better, but equitably with no country left behind.
Following complaints of staggering price increase of e-hailing fares, Transport Minister Wee Ka Seong has clarified that the government does not regulate base fares set by e-hailing operators. However, he assured the public that more people will register as e-hailing drivers as the price hike was attributed to a lack of drivers amid high demand. We explain how e-hailing operators are permitted to set their fare structures based on their own formula and terms of service with consumers in a free market. The surcharge, however, cannot be more than 2 times the base fare, taking peak rates and fuel prices into account. After a meeting between his ministry, the Land Public Transport Agency and e-hailing operators, we revealed that more than 130,000 people currently held vocational licenses to work as e-hailing drivers. The number is expected to grow as driving schools and e-hailing operators receive more candidates for 21 operators with active licenses nationwide. Parti Bangsa Malaysia PBM Deputy President Haniza Mohamad Talha has urged Putrajaya to consider enacting a law that grants menstrual leave for women suffering from period pain. The Selangor state lawmaker said Malaysia should follow Spain's recent approval of a bill granting its women menstrual leave of up to 3 days.
Haniza said it would be unfair to expect women who suffer from severe menstrual cramps to use up their annual MC quota for a condition that may occur monthly. In Malaysia, she said the most recently published research on dysmenorrhea in working women came from YouGov in 2017, where 86% of women polled said they had period pain. Among those women who had period pain and had work, 81% said that it affected their ability to work. She added that menstrual health is an important topic for women, but it has been a topic that many policymakers are reluctant to deal with, especially those among Asian people. Haniza called on the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development and the Human Resources Ministry to set up a task force to look into the matter.
We'll continue after the break. Stay with us.
Jualan Riang Raya Maxis. Bawa pulang peranti idaman baharu hanya RM50 sebulan dengan Maxis Home Fiber hari ini.
Banyaknya darah. Kena tukar pad.
Pad pendek sangat? Cuba Sophie Comfort Night. Pad terpanjang 42.5 cm. Tak pojok belakang. Tidur lena sampai pagi dengan Sophie Comfort Night. Sophie.
Welcome back. Today marks the third month since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In Kiev, life has seemingly returned to the streets since Russia's withdrawal from around the capital as it focused its fight in the east of Ukraine.
Residents took to the streets to enjoy the good weather and commemorate those who have lost their lives since the start of the conflict on February 24th. On a lawn in the capital, a monument with the number 7,463 is displayed with the message, Ukrainians killed by Vladimir Putin. But the actual casualties from the conflict are thought to be much higher. Meanwhile, at the post office, hundreds of people gathered to buy special anti-war stamps and postcards that symbolize Ukrainians' resistance against Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took part in the ceremony to launch the series, which will see 5 million stamps in total put into circulation.
When Russian President Vladimir Putin announced his military operation in Ukraine 3 months ago, the conflict seemed far away from Russian territory. Yet within days, the country was hit by unprecedented volley of sanctions by Western governments and economic punishment by corporations. Many ordinary Russians are still reeling from the financial blows and isolation.
Moscow's vast shopping malls have turned quiet, with storefronts once occupied by Western retailers. Among the exits, American fast food giant McDonald's. Starbucks is also set to leave the Russian market, while major industrial players, including oil giants BP and Shell and automaker Renault, walked away, despite their huge investments in Russia.
We see deterioration in the economy now across a broad range of sectors. Companies are warning that they're running out of inventories of spare parts. A lot of companies have put their workers on part-time work, and others are warning that they may have to shut down entirely. So there's a real fear that unemployment will rise during the summer months, that there will be a big drop in consumption, in retail sales and investment.
The ruble is now more than 30% stronger against the dollar than it was before Russia sent troops into Ukraine on February 24th, thanks to Moscow's intervention. But in terms of economic activity, that's a completely different story. If the military action drags on, more companies could exit Russia.
Outgoing Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte sharply criticized Russian leader Vladimir Putin for the killings of innocent civilians in Ukraine. Duterte, himself accused of human rights abuses, reminds Putin to control his soldiers and spare the innocent from military's attacks. Duterte said while the two of them have been tagged as killers, he said that he kills criminals, not children and the elderly.
Nagsasabi na barihan daw kami ni Putin, papatay. Alam mo, gusto ko lang malaman ninyong Pilipino na pumapatay talaga ako. Sinabi ko yan sa inyo noon pa. Pero ang pinapatay ko, kriminal. Hindi ako pumapatay ng bata, ang matanda. Magkaiba ang mundo namin eh. It's not a special military operation. Ginamit ni Putin yung word na yan. But actually, it is really waging a war against a nation, a sovereign nation.
The Philippines voted in favor of a UN General Assembly resolution condemning the Russian invasion, although Duterte held back from strongly criticizing Putin, whom he continued to describe as a friend. In other news, Sri Lanka has increased fuel prices in a move to rein in the country's worst economic crisis in decades. Petrol prices would increase by 20 to 24%, while people were told to work from home to minimize the use of fuel. Diesel prices would also rise by 35 to 38% with immediate effect. The daily limits of how much fuel each consumer can purchase will continue. The move comes after motorists had been complaining about waiting for more than 24 hours near all the fuel stations across the country without fuel. Sri Lanka's inflation currently stands at a record high of 34%. The hike in fuel prices is bound to push inflation higher, at least in the short term. Sri Lanka is facing its worst economic crisis since independence in 1948 due to the government's mismanagement of economic policies. The island nation has already defaulted its sovereign debts last week. Over in Iran, 10 people were killed after an unfinished building collapsed in the southwest city of Abadan. The incident, which happened on Monday, saw dozens more trapped.
Rescue teams and sniffer dogs worked through the night to pull out at least 30 people trapped in the 10-story office block. Pictures showed concrete floors and steel beams had fallen onto the streets below, crushing several cars. Officials said the cause of the collapse was still being investigated. According to authorities, the building was still partly under construction. Inspectors had reportedly issued safety warnings months prior to the building's collapse. Both the building owner and contractor had been arrested.
Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah recently met his counterpart from Myanmar's National Unity Government (NUG), a shadow administration outlawed by the ruling military junta in the February 1st coup last year. The meeting came a year after the proposal by ASEAN to tackle the crisis made little to no progress. Tan Sri Said Hamid Albar, chairman of the Malaysian Advisory Group on Myanmar, called on ASEAN to engage the unity government and take more proactive steps to restore peace and stability in the region.
So I think it's a good move that Malaysia take the initiative, and hopefully by taking this initiative, we'll be able to encourage and invite other ASEAN members to take the same position. We just want political stability. We want a government that is elected by the people. After all, that is the principle and philosophy of ASEAN. It's a free government, democratic government. So I think Malaysia's stand is a very positive and constructive stand in order to find a solution.
Syed Hamid explained why the 5-point consensus plan proposed by ASEAN for Myanmar has yielded no tangible result. ASEAN, he said, should take more decisive and unified stand against the junta and explore more punitive actions.
Myanmar feels that it doesn't have to follow. It doesn't have to adhere. It doesn't have to listen because ASEAN would not take any action. So this is the time for ASEAN to consider taking action so that its name has got credibility. The organization is respected. And I think the United Nations Secretary General said it wants ASEAN. And we came up with five. This is not theoretical, the 5 points consensus. It is supposed to be a practical solution. And I think Myanmar also agreed to it. And then when it comes to implementing, they're saying, because they know that ASEAN will not take action. I would suggest that this the next action that ASEAN should take after dealing with the NUG, we should only deal with the NUG if Myanmar continues to be very stubborn. And on top of that, I think ASEAN should consider, which has never done before, to suspend Myanmar for the time being.
What does the banning of a class of micro-mobility vehicles tell us about the capacity of government to resolve long-standing last-mile connectivity issues for our city's transport systems? Tonight on Consider This, Shard Kutin speaks to our guests about the issue. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Fahana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Sharad Kutin and welcome to Consider This. The recent ban on e-scooters has stirred up a long-standing concern about urban transport.